ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your first storytellers of the evening, Ken Gray and then Lori Gray.
So it's 2004. I'm in my kitchen. I'm cooking my dinner. My doorbell rings. It's my fiancée. Well, she's come to announce to me that she's found someone else to marry. Well, I knew she was wrong for me. I had my suspicions. I knew the church wanted her to marry the pastor's brother-in-law. But I felt okay, and I said, great. I can get out of this crazy relationship. You know, because 2 weeks before that, she had almost jumped from my car at 60 miles per hour on the freeway because a bee had flown in the window. Or was it the time when we were sitting in the restaurant? A seeing eye dog walked past our table, and she climbed up my back and sat on my shoulders. But I was in too deep then. So I said, okay, I'll just need that $10,000 wedding ring I gave you back. Well, her response was, no. You see, Ken, I've got 75% possession of this ring. It's mine. So I didn't make it any better with my response. I said, okay, well, come Sunday, I'm going to call you out in front of the congregation for the thief that you are. So she leaves my house. She's mad. Sunday comes around. I'm walking down the hall of the church. I'm headed to the sanctuary because I'm about to prove my case. When out of nowhere, this woman steps forward. She's got her arm extended with what looks like a dirty rolled up sock. I take it, I look inside. It's the wedding ring, which I promptly rolled up and ran out of the church with. So now 2 weeks have gone by. The phone rings. It's her. You know, she had the audacity to ask me to still take her to see The Lion King. Well, I'm a man of my word. I say, sure, I'll take you. So we go. Play is over. We're on the way home. We're both quiet, driving along. I let her out in front of her apartment. She walks away. Then abruptly she turns and comes back. She leans in the car window. She has this mournful sound to her voice. She says, Ken, baby, you know I still care about you. Well, that's when I floored it. I burned rubber all the way down the street, around the corner, to the freeway. Now, 1 month has gone by. I'm at home and I'm reading the papers, and I see this play being advertised called Yellow Man. Now, Yellow Man is about a light-complexioned black man who meets a dark-complexioned black woman and the complications of their relationship. So I go. I'm seated, the curtains are going up, and the lights are dimming. When off to the side, I see this woman making her way up the aisleway. She's looking for a chair. Now, I've got a chair next to me. It's empty, but I'm not feeling sociable. And I say to myself, Lord, don't let this woman sit next to me.
Excuse me, is the seat taken? See, I'd come down to the Detroit Repertory Theater at the very last minute, on standby. And they said, hurry, go right in, there's 2 seats left. So I rush in and I look around and I see 1 seat between 2 guys and another seat beside this really fine guy. So I said, is the seat taken? I take a seat and I catch my breath. See, I'm a flight attendant and I'd just gotten in from Brazil and I was so tired of staying in the house weekend after weekend and turn right back around and go right back to Brazil and repeat the process all over again. Oh, yes. The curtain goes up, and there's Yellow Man, and he's kind of cute. But doggone if he doesn't remind me of my ex-husband. See, we met in college in the 70s, fell in love, got married, and had 3 beautiful children. And then after 22 years of marriage, he tells me he doesn't love me anymore, and he gave me my divorce papers on Mother's Day. Mother's Day. I cried and I prayed and I prayed and I fasted. But sometimes God does say no. And at the end of a 5-year journey to wholeness and health, wholeness and healing, I decided that it was time to pick myself up and move on. In January 2004, a girlfriend invited me to her church. That's when 2 different pastors, neither hearing the other, told me that God is sending me someone because I had finally let go of the other. I was so excited. I said, God, when I got home, I prayed and I said, God, show him to me. Let me see him. The next morning, right at the twilight of my awakening, you know that place where you really sleep, but it's not a real deep sleep? I see this vision. And there's this gorgeous man. And he's looking at me with so much love in his eyes. And I'm ashamed to tell you this part, but I asked God, what is he? You know how I feel about my brothers. But just as quickly as I said it, I told God, I'm sorry. I will take whatever you give me. So the play became intense, and the next thing I know, I grabbed the armrest and the hand of the man on the armrest beside me. Oh, sorry.
She really scared me. Yellow Man had just killed his father, so I understood.
Now, see, it's intermission now, and we're talking about that scene. And we're also talking about the Willie Lynch letter. That diabolical plan used intimidation, envy, fear, and distrust to pit the black slave against one another by their differences. You know, dark skin, light skin, coarse hair, fine hair, weight, height, whatever they could use. Oprah did a show about it a little while ago, and it's funny, but it still affects us to this day. It had a powerful hold on our people. Now the play is over, and we're leaving out of the auditorium, and we got separated. And as I make my way out, I see him. There he is. He's waiting for me. Leaning against the bar. Looking as uninterested and bored as possible. We exchanged emails and phone numbers, and I walked on out to my car. That's when I noticed he was already in his car, pulling into the street. And I said,
As I drove past in my Mazda, she gave me one of the weirdest looks.
Actually, I was looking at that car. It looked like a raggedy Snaggletooth Wow Mouse. I got my SUV and drove on home to Southfield. So we emailed each other a few times, and one particular time he emails me and he says, "Are you going to see the Passion of the King, of the Christ?" And I go, "Well, yes, I'd like to. Are you asking me out?" "No, I just wanted to know if you were going." I go, "Oh, no, that's not him, and I'm so glad I didn't call him, and If that was him, he would have called me, but he didn't.
You see, I didn't call her because I had just broken up with my fiance. So I wasn't interested in getting into a relationship so soon. So now it's summer. It's a hot day. I'm taking a cold shower. And that's when it happened. I heard the voice of God speak to me. It spoke to my heart. It said, Ken, go down to Eastern Market. There you will find your wife. Well, I got to tell you, I've never heard the voice of God before. But I heard it that day. So I gathered up my things and drove down to Eastern Market where there was a smorgasbord of women. All shapes and sizes, smiling, laughing, flirting with their eyes. When I turn and I see this beautiful woman walking past me. Now I know her, but I don't know her name. And that's when the voice spoke to me again. It said, Lori. I said, Lori, as if my life depended upon it. It's me. It's Ken.
Dude, what's up? He was all sun-kissed and golden and smiling big and leaning in. He actually asked me, what are you doing this evening? I'm shocked because I didn't think I was his flavor. So I said, well, I'm going to hear some poetry this afternoon. He said, can I come? I'm like, sure. I gave him the address, but he didn't show up.
Well, I didn't show up because I got lost. I drove around for hours looking for this place and I couldn't find it. But I did call her and I asked her, so what are you doing for this evening? She said, well, I'm in for the evening. I said, well, can I come by? And that's when there was a long dead silence on the end of that phone. Finally, she said, sure. So now I'm in my car. I'm turning the corner to the street that she lives on. And there she is. She's standing there looking radiant like an island girl. She's got a yellow sarong on with matching yellow flip-flops. And in her hand is a leash. And in her hand is a leash that leads down to one ugly little dog.
You shouldn't talk about Coco like that. So, I am looking kind of cute and everything. So I tell him, let's walk the dog. See, I figured if he killed me, at least my neighbors would know who'd done it. So we're walking and talking, and the conversation is easy and making fast friends, and he seemed like a nice enough guy, so I invited him in. Made us a couple of salads, and we sat down at the table, and we're just talking. That's when it happened. He got up from the table, came around to my side, bent over, and kissed me on the cheek. And he said, see, if you married me, and he did it twice. I'm like, oh no, you're not him, and you're moving way too fast, and this one has to go home.
Well, she didn't know it, but she said everything that I had prayed for. I asked God for a woman that loved God. I asked for a woman that loved to travel. And at last, I asked for a woman that would love her man unconditionally. But yep, she showed me to the door. But I didn't care. I was on cloud nine driving home. I was singing, laughing, because I had just found my wife.
The next day, it's Sunday, and my girlfriend or I, we're in the car and we're driving around looking for something to do. It's summer. That's when my phone rang. It was Ken. He said, listen, everything you said last night, my pastor preached on it. I want you to pray and ask God if you're my wife. I was like, Negro, please. I was telling my girlfriend about it, and we're kind of yucking it up. That's when I had my Willie Lynch moment. I said, you know, I kind of like him, but he's just a little too light. And she told me, don't be hating on a brother just because your grandmother could run a little faster than his great-grandmother. So I'm intrigued, and I do really like him, and he invited me out on our first date. We went to Shane Park in Birmingham. We listened to some smooth jazz of Keiko Matsui. We went across the street for dinner at the Chinese restaurant. At the end of the meal, they brought the fortune cookie. You know how they do. I opened it up, and inside it said, you or someone very close to you will be married within the year. I was like, oh, no.
Well, my response was, see, I told you that God had meant for us to be together. So we dated for 3 months, and that's when I had a chance to kiss her without warning, without permission, without even deciding to do it. You see, I needed that breath she was holding. It belonged to me, and I wanted it back. So 3 months after, I asked her to marry me.
And I said, yes. But see, I had forgotten that during that time of hurting and pain, that I had asked God to vindicate me. I was hurting so bad, and I felt so much shame. And I realized that God had done exactly what I'd asked him to as I stood beside the man of my dreams on my wedding day.
And 11 years later, she's still the love of my life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ken and Lori Gray.